Good morning and welcome to the programme. We hope you are keeping well. As I say, it's a very, very bright sunny day out there today. The temperatures are going to be rising. If you're cocooning, take care of yourself. Go out the back and tan, as the SAR told us last week. In a minute, we are going to be talking to a number of Leaving Cert students. We had a big reaction to the items we had on yesterday. Husband and wife surviving COVID, the Cistercian monks in Mount Mellery and much more. This morning we want to hear from students who are doing their Leaving Cert and their parents about what do you think. We also want to hear from you about politics, party politics in particular. We've stayed away from it for a lot of the last few weeks, but if you're a Fine Gael or Fianna Fáil member, what do you think of the COVID crisis killing the near 100-year-old Civil War politics? If you're a Sinn Féin member, what do you think about being excluded? Also, we are going to be talking to Selena and her husband Andrew, their two lovely children, Layla May and Caden. 5-year-old Caden, who has autism. And we've paid a visit to Alphonsus Road, the best road in Ireland, says resident Liz Murphy. Firstly, the Leaving Cert. I think we have Dara on the line. Good morning, Dara.
Good morning.
Thanks very much for joining us, Dara Bowman. And I think we also have Deise. Are you there as well?
Hiya, good morning.
Good morning, Deise. Deise Drohan. Thanks very much for joining us, folks. We're going to be talking to more students as well after 11 o'clock. Dara, you're in St Augustine's in Dungarvan, and Deise, you're an Ursuline student in Waterford here. Dara, I'll go to you first. You're quite upset at what's happening, are you?
Yeah, me amongst everybody else, we just kind of want some clarification onto what's going on, really.
And do you think the government and the state were left with no easy options? Like, can you understand where they're coming from, or what would you like to see happen?
I can understand where they're coming from, but to be honest, I'd like a more kind of, a solution we can see ahead to, because at the moment we have no date to look forward to or anything like that. So it's really hard for students to prepare for it.
OK. Deise, what's your thoughts on what's happening at present?
Yeah, no, I completely agree. It's a mixture of emotions, really. I do think that there was never going to be a solution that would suit everyone. And no matter what the government chose to do, there would have been kind of uproar about it. So I'm not surprised that students are frustrated, and I myself kind of are frustrated and confused as well. And same as Dara, we're all just kind of looking for a bit more clarification. It still feels like we're kind of waiting for something that, we're not really sure is going to come. Particularly with them saying that we might have 2 weeks of school before the exams, but the logistics of that doesn't really seem kind of like it's going to happen at the moment, really. Yeah.
What do you think, if you were Minister for Education, Deise, what would you have done?
Oh, God, I couldn't tell you, because I do think I liked the predicted grade model, but there's way too many variables. There would be so many parents angry with teachers, and obviously there are teachers that are biased at the same time, or there's no way to kind of keep a standard throughout. I know our school does a lot of tests, but other schools might not do as many, or might do kind of one a month or whatever, whereas mine would be very, very frequent. So obviously my grades would be completely different to someone who might have, let's say, 3 tests in a year rather than having 10 tests. So that in itself, as well as the standards the tests will be at, or the way that they're graded as well. And even if you look at the pre's, they couldn't have taken predicted grades from the pre's because they're so all over the place. Students are still preparing for something, so they're kind of, in our school anyways, they told us not to focus on the pre's, to focus on the Leaving Cert. So it's trying to take the pre's as a learning curve in terms of exams, not in terms of the content of the exams. So there really was no way to get a good predicted grade. I do think at the moment it's the best thing that they could possibly have done is kind of keep the Leaving Cert going ahead. But there's so many logistical problems that will still arise from having it. So really, I couldn't tell you what's going to happen. I don't think anyone really knows.
Yeah, they don't. And the ASTI, the Secondary School Teachers of Ireland, the union last night, they issued a statement saying it will engage constructively with the Department of Education. Now, they were criticised over the weekend for saying that no teacher would be required to do anything, and the exam proposal couldn't be enforced. I got an email from a teacher saying that, just like you're saying, the predictive grade, I suppose, system just wouldn't work, and that it's not feasible. And I suppose a lot of students are saying something on this. Those that are happy, by and large, remain silent. But we're delighted both of you are coming on. And it's just to get a feeling of where people are at. We're going to be talking to more students after 11 as well, and some teachers. This teacher has a brother and 3 grind students who are doing the Leaving Cert, and spoke to all 4 of them. And they're pleased with the decision to postpone. But I've been talking to other students, Dara, and they're upset at the decision to postpone. They were thinking there would have been some way to do it with social distancing, to have different, I suppose, halls and have 10 metres between each student or whatever the case may be. And this idea that you're going to have to study over the summer, Dara, how does that make you feel?
For some people, it'd be quite hard. Like me, myself, it's really helpful to have the school environment to kind of keep my head down and all that. But when you're at home, a lot of people would just kind of lose touch with it, and you find it very hard to study and get things done. If that makes sense.
Yes, it does make sense. Yeah.
And along with,
go on. Yeah.
Along with that, we've practical projects. I do construction studies and things like that, and I was only halfway through my project, and to be told then that these things are still going ahead, and then not really knowing how that's going to happen then is a bit worrying as well.
Is there much stress, Dara, with the people you'd be talking about? We have to put this into context. Stress, obviously, and you know this very well, stress is related to, I suppose, many different matters, and your own personal experience has come into it. Now, if somebody has COVID or is related to somebody who's COVID, that's a different level of stress. You're talking about potentially life and death situation. So some people would say, they're only exams. But they're not only exams. They're the most important exam that you've been told that you'll ever do, and they set you up for life. So do you feel cheated in some way, or how do you feel about it?
You could say we feel cheated, but then again, there also is, not really many other options they could have taken. I feel like they did take one of the best options that were out there, which is going ahead later in the month. But some more clarification on the decision on how the exams and the practical exams are going to go ahead would have been nice. Yeah.
What do you think, Deise?
Yeah, no, I completely agree. And also, I do art, so I'm kind of in the midst of doing the booklet as well. And saying that they're going to bring us back for 2 weeks before the exams, really, there doesn't seem to be much point in that other than to get the booklets done. We won't be able to finish courses. It doesn't give us enough class time to finish, the curriculum that we have set out already. And also, as you're saying, if there's coronavirus in, someone's house, if someone's dealing with sickness or loss, or even people who are immunocompromised, how they're going to bring in 60,000 students in 2.5 months to sit exams at the exact same time, I really have no idea how they're going to do it.
Is there a possibility that you may go into college without having done the Leaving Cert, or maybe in September do some kind of and do you think you might be marked easier, Deise?
Yeah, I think that's definitely an option. I think at this stage everyone has their CAOs done, or if not, the CAO will reopen. I wouldn't necessarily see a huge issue in just kind of presuming that everyone would be able to get their top choice, let's say, and then it cuts out all the uncertainties of having to sit the exams in the first place. I know that those come with other problems, in terms of college applications and stuff like that, but I do think that could definitely be a feasible option. I wouldn't be surprised if they took that road at all.
Dara, it looks like there's no options at the minute, as Daisy's saying there, but it looks like you are going to be studying over the summer.
Yeah, that seems to be the plan anyways, to try and keep the head down over summer and all that, and resist the temptation to go out for too long anyway.
And is it difficult to concentrate all the time?
I find it difficult to concentrate all the time, and I'm sure in many households it's a lot worse for them with, not having that much technology available to them in the house or out in the country with bad internet. Yes. I've been very lucky here with all my teachers. They're quite engaged with us over different websites and applications and video calls and all that, keeping us up to date on our schoolwork. But I could imagine in some schools they're not getting the same treatment.
Yeah, we're going to be talking to some students later about that. Dara Bowman and Deise Drohan, thank you very much for joining us, and mind yourselves.
Thank you for having us.
And the best of luck, folks, okay? Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Not Bye. At all. Take care, lads. And stay safe and happy studying, if that's the right way of putting it. Leaving Cert is stressful enough. We can understand the government's predicament, the state's predicament. What do you think? Is there any other options that the government could have done? Please let us know. A few people texting in about that already. We have a text from a member of UHW. Very important, says this person. Could you please make sure to put it out there, says this person, who doesn't want to be named, that there are no cases of children in the paediatric ward in Waterford diagnosed with COVID-19. There was something going around yesterday evening on Facebook. There may have been some possibility, but it's very, very clear from this person who works in UHW, there are no cases of children in the PEDS ward in Waterford diagnosed with COVID-19. Good morning, Damien. I'm so glad you're bringing up the subject of walking on footpaths. Surely everybody can work this out. They should walk the direction of the traffic on the footpaths. They should do what maybe Australia are doing. You're not allowed to actually walk in certain directions, and it makes it easier. And we don't want people walking out on the roads. That's something we're going to be talking about in a few minutes. Keep in touch, 083 3333 975 if you want to ring Audrey, 051 846 123. Next, what do you think about civil war politics being abolished? Now, we're getting a lot of texts already, and like I say, the phenomenal amount of texts with people being at home and people texting in, it just really is. So if I don't get to any texts, apologies. David Cullinan is going to join us in a second. Firstly, lovely text in from Joyce. Can you please wish Grace Hayes a very happy 8th birthday? It's not the celebrations we were planning, but Grace, like all amazing children, are staying safe. Lots of love from Mam Felicity and Nanny Bernie. Happy birthday, Grace. We also have results of a Waterford Chamber survey. I'm going to talk to David Cullinan now about business, I suppose, first. And I know the Chamber are looking at doing something about this and responding to this tomorrow. They sent out a survey, 166 respondents from Waterford across all sectors, 83% of which were Chamber members. 60% of those who answered said they expected COVID-19 to affect their business revenue. The average a business expects the revenue to be impacted is 40%. And 50%, half of all those businesses responded, are participating in the wage subsidy scheme. And the frightening figure is 43%. That's 43% of businesses that have been surveyed are closed completely. David Cullinan of Sinn Féin, good morning.
Good morning, Damien. How are you? Good,
thank you. It's a Chambers Ireland survey that I'm quoting from there, and I know they're going to be doing something about that tomorrow. We're in a very difficult situation, aren't we, economically, and so many different aspects of things. And we'll talk about politics in a second, but I suppose the cold reality is that we are in a very changed situation than we were 2 or 3 months ago.
Absolutely, Damien. And first of all, I want to commend the people of Waterford who have shown a huge resilience, I have to say, over the last number of weeks. I think we've seen from all the photo footage of the empty streets that people are practicing the guidelines which are being put in place. It's a very, very tough time, obviously, for everybody. And I want to offer my sympathies to all of those families who've been bereaved and people who've lost loved ones to this virus, but also all of those who are sick and who've contracted the virus and who are in hospital and wish them a speedy recovery. And also to commend all of our frontline workers, Damien, in health, obviously, especially, but also in nursing homes, on Garda Síochána, our defence forces, retail workers, and all of those who are stepping up to the plate in what is a big challenge. You're right in terms of businesses. Obviously, lots of people have lost their jobs. The Mandate Trade Union have said that 60% of their members have now lost their jobs, and they're mainly in retail and hospitality. But we're seeing it obviously in construction. We're seeing it across the board where you have huge job losses. And businesses are really struggling. And I suppose what we need to do is to try and support those businesses to stay alive as companies for this unprecedented time. And I know some supports have been put in place, and we've been engaging with Revenue, we've been engaging with IBEC and ISME and the Department of Finance to look at what additional supports and measures need to be put in place to support businesses who have fixed costs. So things like commercial rents, rates, insurance costs, insurance companies not playing ball, all of these issues need to be dealt with and tackled. And we need to keep as many companies alive as possible. We need to give them as much cash injection as they need to pay those bills, to keep their fixed costs going and to keep the companies open. And then through the wage subsidy scheme to keep as many of those employees connected to the companies as possible. We will emerge from this, Damien.
Yeah,
nobody knows exactly when. And when we do emerge, we have to be prepared for the increased investment, which will be necessary. Just one final piece on that part of it. There does need to be an awful lot more done from the European Union in terms of borrowing and bonds and money raised through the European Central Bank to support countries as well. There's some tension, as you can see, between some of the countries and the responses, but there has been an agreement reached, and I think we need to make sure that we maximise the potential of that funding opportunity for Ireland. And I was pleased that the government have said that there will be an injection of capital spend as we come out of this, because we have some big capital projects in Waterford, and the North Keys is one. And all of these things will need to happen.
Can I ask you, David Cullinan, would you give credit where credit is due, in the sense that, like, the EU has put in a lot of funding streams, but from the government's perspective, have they done a good job in many respects?
I think they have done a reasonable job, Damien, and I would give credit where credit is due, but I think it's a collective effort by everybody. So I don't think anybody has played politics with this crisis. Obviously, the government are the government, and they have a job to do. And I think on the health front, yes, we've had concerns in relation to a shortage of PPE. Yes, there are concerns in relation to testing. If you look at people who waited 2-3 weeks for test results to come back, there has been some issues, and we've obviously challenged the government on some of those. But I think by and large, the government has done a good job. It is obviously responding to an unprecedented crisis. And I think it's not just the government. The opposition have worked constructively with the government as well, as we did on Brexit, to ensure that there was a united political focus on the solutions which need to be put in place. I think everybody deserves a degree of credit, but most especially the frontline workers and the people in the Department of Health, the Chief Medical Officer, and all of those as part of the Emergency Public Health Team are guiding all of us, including opposition, but most especially the government. And yes, absolutely, credit needs to go to government, but it also needs to go to all of those on the front line who are doing a fantastic job.
Yes.
Very, very challenging and difficult circumstances.
And I'm going to talk to you about Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael in a minute, but can I ask you briefly, has there been any update, or what is the situation with something like the North Keys? Is everything now put on hold for the time being, depending what happens? I know the government has said, yeah, we will talk about funding streams further down the line, but like the amount of borrowing that we're doing, the amount of money that is now being spent on social welfare, the amount of money that's been spent on the health system to fight this crisis, can you see the North Keys still going ahead?
I can, Damien, and I have to say that we have to take a very, very bullish and a very positive attitude to all of this, because we can't miss what is a huge opportunity for Waterford and the South East. And you have to bear in mind that the North Keys project is something that will be durable and sustainable for nearly 100 years, I would say. It will transform the future of Waterford City and the region. And we did a conference call, the Oireachtas members, with the CEO of the council, Michael Walsh, last week. And he is in constant contact with the Department of Local Government and the Environment, which is the main funder for this project. There are still ongoing discussions between economists and very senior civil servants within that department in relation to the funding. The council is also in contact with the developers and the company which will be spending huge amounts of money. Obviously, it's going to be delayed. I mean, that's obvious. But I think we have to be resolute in making sure that these type of projects don't fall by the wayside. And yes, there is going to be less money there, but I think we need to concentrate our spend now on stimulating the economy and economies and regional economies as we come out of this crisis. I think it would be a huge mistake for any government, and I would like Sinn Féin to be in a future government, and we'll talk about that in a few minutes, but I think any future government has to have an eye on regional development and on economic development, and on making sure that we actually learn the lessons of the last economic crash, Damien, where we built a recovery on low pay and we actually cut capital spend, and I think that was accepted now even by economists as a mistake. So we need to look at the European Union-wide response, the response of an Irish government, and then make sure that the funding for those type of projects are in place. So I would be not surrendering on that project 1 inch. I think we have to stand firm and stand resolute that this is a transformational project for South East and for Waterford.
Yeah, I agree with you there. I just think the reality of what's facing us down the line in the next 4 to 6 months may well be different. And I understand what you're saying in terms of the sentiments, but in terms of what happens, we'll just have to wait and see. Can I ask you, what do you think of Fianna Fáil? And we don't want to rehash the election, if that's okay, but just specifically, what do you think of Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael coming together now and a rotating Taoiseach with Micheál Martin, Leo Varadkar and they're going to be in power. What do you think of it?
Well, I said, Damien, during the course of the election campaign, and I won't rehearse the issues, but what I did say in terms of government formation, that the worst option for the people that I represent would be a government of Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael. And since the foundation of the state, we've had governments led either by Fianna Fáil or Fine Gael. And in the last Dáil term, we had what I called a sham of confidence and supply, which was really a three-card trick by both Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael to control both government and opposition at the same time. But the people saw through it. And despite the fact that we are in unprecedented times, we did have an election a number of weeks ago. And in that election, Sinn Féin won the most first preference votes. And both Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael, between them, and it's amazing even when you reflect back on the results, got 38% of the vote. There was a time, Damien, when both of those parties were getting 90% of the vote. So the people passed judgment on them. In Waterford, Fine Gael are without any TD. Fianna Fáil dropped votes considerably, despite the fact that both parties stood two candidates. Their vote dropped considerably. So that was a very, very clear message from the electors that they want change. And that's accepted, I think, by most political commentators and even from the leaderships of those parties that people want to change. I think here's the fundamental point. We're 22 years on from the Good Friday Agreement. And the basis of the Good Friday Agreement was that the politics of exclusion that was practiced by unionist parties had to come to an end. And yet, here today, we still have both Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael saying that they won't talk to Sinn Féin. We had a government minister on your programme yesterday saying Sinn Féin is sitting on its hands. And it's extraordinary that they would make those claims, and sometimes that those claims will go unchallenged, given that they are the ones who are refusing to talk to us. So we will talk to any of those parties.
Well, I did challenge him, as you know, on it, and the specific things in terms of the points he was making was saying that he didn't believe that you were interested in getting into government. You prefer to stay on the fence. You firmly refute that, do you?
Well, we made it absolutely clear that we wanted to be in government. Mary Lou McDonald wrote to both Leo Varadkar and Micheál Martin and set out our position. We made it crystal clear we would talk to everybody. The reality is, Damien, they don't want to talk to us. And here's the bizarre part of it. The logic or the reason why Micheál Martin and Leo Varadkar said they would not talk to Sinn Féin was their social and economic policies. And yes, they're now saying that they are crafting a framework document that will be much more ambitious in terms of a single-tier health service, a radical housing programme, increased investment in childcare. And if you read Pat Leahy's article in the Irish Times today, he actually makes the point that the politics of exclusion is wrong, and that essentially Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael are grabbing a lot of what was in Sinn Féin's election manifesto and cobbling together this framework document. So then the question is one of trust.
Yes.
Would you trust those parties to deliver on those policies? And if they're now changing the policies, well, then why won't they talk to Sinn Féin? And they're really interested in building a single-tier health service and in having a really ambitious public and affordable housing programme. Talk to Sinn Féin, pick up the phone, and I can tell you if that call came, we would sit down and talk to any party. And here's the other point I want to make on it, Damien, because he also said that nobody wants to go into government with Sinn Féin. I was part of the Sinn Féin negotiating team. We met with the Green Party, with the Social Democrats, with the Labour Party, with People Before Profit, and with all independent groupings. And they all said they would have no difficulty going into government with Sinn Féin. So the only two parties who are refusing to do so are the two Civil War parties who are, again, in a desperate bid to cling to power, carving up power between them.
David Cullinan, thank you very much for joining us this morning. Slán go fóill. David Cullinan there, Sinn Féin TD. Some texts have come in. Sorry, this just came in there a second ago. Did Sinn Féin TDs turn down latest pay rises? Could you confirm? I don't know. Regarding Fine Gael and Fianna Fáil coming together, I believe they're playing a game, pretending they did not want to join up with each other during the election when they don't mind joining up with each other. Damien, regarding walking on footpaths, can you please ask motorists to stop parking on footpaths? It's very hard to keep a safe distance while people are walking, particularly up around the Grace Dew Dominic Place area. There's barely enough room for one person to pass a stretch of 200 metres. Can you please remind people, says Anne in Kilmacthomas, to clean up after their dogs? On Monday morning I used 7 bags cleaning up after other people's dogs and 4 bags on Tuesday morning. A text in, no matter who's in government, there's only so much money in the pot each year. That's calculated on how the economy is doing, and this is dished out by the Department of Finance. Former councillor Eddie Walsh says he's strongly disillusioned with Irish politics now. He's strongly opposed to any merger of Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael, thinks the rotation Taoiseach idea is ridiculous. He says people voted for change. This is not. We need another election. And Pat reminded me to say it's St Alphonsus Road, Pat. Yes, that is what I was going to say, because next we are going to be hearing from the people of St Alphonsus Road. Now, the texts are still coming in regarding the formation of a new government. Why should Fianna Fáil or Fine Gael have spoken to Mary Lou and others in Sinn Féin at every opportunity they gave to her in the run-up to election? She told us she wanted nothing to do with the Tweedledum and Tweedledee politics. She never told us who were the two Tweedledees were, and I think it's fair that Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael do talk to each other. Damien, England can do an assessment. Why can we not do one? My son will do worse than his prees. I think it's an awful curriculum and a very difficult way that it hasn't been finished, and it's very difficult, says this parent, regarding the Leaving Cert. So he is calling for the idea of the assessments would have worked. Good morning. Do you know if anyone else's COVID payment is delayed this week? I still haven't received any payment this week. I don't know. If anybody wants to ring in and let us know, please, if they have or haven't received. Now, the best road in Ireland, says resident Liz Murphy. Hello to Jean Corcoran, a resident there. I was telling everyone I was up there yesterday afternoon as part of our reports on how people are coping. Using a 2-metre extender interview stick, I was able to maintain that social distance, talking to people at their front doors. This report starts with Vera O'Mara. How long are you on the street here, Vera?
1996, I think, yeah. It's a lovely road. I love
What makes it special? What makes this road special?
I think everybody's so friendly, the neighbours, you know. Everybody seems to know everybody else, and it's near everything. It's near the city, it's near the park. It's just a nice area.
It's a lovely day today.
Like a day like today, isn't it? Yeah, it's beautiful.
Now, for those that don't know the street, the road, there's no front gardens, but you have nice back gardens.
Oh, we have a nice back garden, yeah. Absolutely amazing at this time now, you know, to sit out. That's all we can do.
How are you coping?
Okay.
What are you finding the most difficult?
Not being able to go out, walking with the dog and meeting up with friends and having a coffee and all that kind of stuff.
Do you get somebody else to walk the dog sometimes? Or?
Oh yeah, my son does it mostly, yeah. Look at the lovely view I have from here, look.
A lot of people would know each other on the street here, wouldn't they?
They would, yeah, a lot of older people, but a lot of new neighbours have moved in now as well, you know, so there's like children. And that's what you miss at the moment, the children running up and down, you know.
Hello, John. Sorry for bothering you. You're here a while. You're here.
I'm here 80 years. I'm not here 80 years. I lived in Rathfarnham Village from 1949.
Tell us, what's the surname?
Breen.
John Breen. How long are you here, John?
I'm 80 now. I'm here. So I came back here. I left here in 1949. We moved to Rathfarnham Village. My father was an ex-soldier. He was a veteran of the Great War. He joined up in 1812. And was there for the duration of the war. He came home once, you know, on leave, and that was all. He didn't come back anymore.
So was the family home up here?
The family was down number 8, yeah. That was where my grandparents lived, in number 8. My mother's eldest brother, he was Irish Guards. He died in 1915 of his wounds. And we had a granduncle. I had a granduncle then as well, my mother's uncle. He was lost at sea in 1915 as well.
And what year did you move back to the street?
We came here in 1980, January 1980. We brought her back, we thought it might be good for her, like, you know, but she was gone, like, you know. After my father dying, she just went downhill, like, you know. But this was her aunt's house, originally.
How are you?
I'm fairly good. It never bothers me in that sense, like, you know. Always said, maybe next year will be better, like. You know, that kind of an attitude. People say he's laid back. I don't know that I am or not, but I just get on with it.
People have made the comparisons about we're fighting a war on this, and yet we're not doing what you're predecessors did. We're not having to go off and fight a war, we're just having to stay in.
That's all, yeah. It's strange, yeah. It's funny. It's a very strange kind of a war to have to fight. But the worst of it is, in other wars, you saw your enemy, you knew your enemy. And this one, you don't know him, you can't see him. I mean, the best brains in the world can't see him even. There'll be probably, if we're lucky this time next year, we may have a cure for it. But let's hope by then it'll be on to such a state that we'll be able to go over and get around again, you know.
What are you finding the most difficult? Are you getting food and supplies? Is it people talking to you, or how are you?
No, I have my niece after all my medical sort of my life, and my sister-in-law after all my shopping. Well, my niece is now Mrs. Grant. Sister-in-law is Mrs. Breen. I saw a big change in my mates when I came back from England. Had got married. I said, no, this is not for me. When the people were coming into the houses here, it was around 1895, they started to move in. And the one man going in, he said, the rough road, no footpaths, everything was rough and stony. He said, it's like Klondike, he said. Klondike Gold Rush was on around the same time, and it stuck to Klondike. Good streets, good neighbours always. I'm preparing to get something to eat. My meals come from Mary Rhymes, dinner every day, and now I'm getting ready to have that.
What's on the menu today?
Roast beef.
Can't go wrong.
Can't go wrong, no. Definitely not.
Could be worse.
It could be worse, yeah.
What's your own name?
Teresa.
Teresa what?
Tynan.
Teresa, how long are you here?
About 42 years, 43 years, I think.
How are you managing?
Very well. Very well. We have great network around here. The neighbours are great, and my daughter stocked me food, and I'm able to go out because I'm not that magic age, as I said to you already. Yeah.
Some people are finding it difficult, but people are looking after each other.
Of course they are, yeah. I think it's bringing out some good in people. I mean, that's already been hidden, you know, unprecedented times, Damien, absolutely, but we'll get there.
Sorry for bothering you.
Yeah, grand.
Damien Tiernan from WLR. How's it going?
Good, how are you?
You just got married.
I did, actually, yeah.
Congratulations.
Thanks very much.
What's your own name?
Kieran O'Keefe.
Tell us about it. Just got married?
Married in October there, yeah.
What's your wife's name?
Vicky Phelan. This used to be her grandmother's house. So we're here about 8 years now.
The association, you'd know this road from the granny.
Yeah, well, my wife more so would have known, and her father and her people would have known all the neighbours and all that. And then over the last few years, then we've both gotten to know them all. And
what's it like?
It's a lovely little road to live on, actually, yeah. It's very nice. They're all older, cracked, good laugh. You get a good laugh with them all. So it's nice. It's lovely.
And people are looking after each other.
They are, in fairness, yeah. Everyone's knocking in, seeing if the older people with no cars and stuff need anything from the shop, or if they need anything brought up and all stuff like that. So it's nice.
How are you managing yourselves?
Grand, not too bad. I'm still in work, lucky enough. So
where is that, you might be asking?
Dairygold in Mitchelstown, so it's a trek away, but it's grand. It's not too bad. At least it gets me out of the house for a while.
Most people seem to be getting on okay.
Yeah. Everyone else is grand, just knocking in, making sure everyone's okay and that.
Hello, sorry for bothering you.
Good.
Damien Tiernan from WLR. How's it going?
How's it going, bye?
Good. I won't shake your hand. I'm just going around talking to a few people on the road here about how they're getting on. Just cocooned, I know, yeah. What's your own name?
Sam Clear.
Sam Clear.
Passage.
I know you now. How long are you here, Sam?
I'm here now about over 46 years, I say. 44 anyway. Around 44 years, I say.
What's lovely about the road here?
Quite. When the schools are here, it is very, very busy. First, you have the Jolly Gods, you have the two down below, you know, so it is very, very busy on the road here at 8:30 in the morning to 9:30, dinner time, and then in the afternoon.
How are you managing?
Oh, great, absolutely great. I'm not stubborn, just kept myself to myself, and that's it.
How old are you, do you mind me asking?
I'm 73.
Are you finding it difficult in any way, or are you just how are you coping with it?
I'm coping grand with it now. I'm just, as I said, I'm not going outside the door, staying in and staying away from everyone. If I think anyone about cough, I'll run away from him.
And what about shopping and stuff like that?
The daughter does the shopping for me now. She does the shopping every Wednesday or Thursday for me. So we're not too bad. We're keeping it above water.
And when you hear people are having problems staying in over 70s, what would you have to say to them just to try and get the right attitude?
Well, I mean, you're supposed to be over 70 now. You're up again it, like, you know. I mean, listen to that girl from Tramore and that fella this morning. They were lucky, like, you know, weren't they? Really, when you think of it.
Yeah.
So I mean to say, when you're at that kind of an age now, there's 85-year-olds getting it. I know it is in rest homes and things like that. It's happening mostly, but you know, we have to watch out for ourselves.
You want to say hello to
and everyone else? Do
you want to say hello to anybody?
I'd like to say hello to all the family. That's all.
Sam, thanks very much.
Okay, David.
God bless. Thank you.
Good luck.
Thanks. Bye bye. Hello, Mary. Damien Tiernan from WLR. How you doing?
Hi, Damien. Come in.
No, I won't. Thanks, I won't, because we're not allowed.
All right.
I'm just doing a little piece about people on the road here and how they're getting on and how's everybody going.
Damien, I'm only at a hospital.
I heard that. You were just in St. Patrick's.
And I was in Arkeen for 7 weeks.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah, I was out.
How are you now? What did you have?
I had my bowel burst.
God love you.
And they stitched it back together. And I'm only hanging. I went in for respite into St. Patrick's. And I came home last Thursday.
How are you? How are you feeling?
I'm all right. And you see, I'm visually impaired, which adds to my problems.
And have you got people to look after you?
I have.
Loads of people helping out.
Yeah, I have a very good family. They're rotating what they're doing. One is coming for breakfast, one is coming for lunch, and one is coming in the evening for me to go to bed. I wouldn't move out.
And tell us about the road here. How special is it?
Sure, come here. This is my own home. You know what I mean? This is my mother and father. This is where we lived.
What were your mum and dad's name?
Tom and Annie Clear.
So it goes back a long while.
Certainly does. Certainly does. But things are changing. I mean, there's a lot of new people. When our age group die, they sell the house and then a new group comes in. You know what I mean? But sure.
And how are you finding this lockdown?
I don't mind. What can we do? My neighbours are coming, they're talking in the window to me. And Liz came over the other day and she was chatting in the window to me. And she said, there's a man passing up, he thinks I'm crazy. I'm talking to a pane of glass.
Well, listen, you mind yourself. Kieran Kennedy is on the line. We're going to talk to him in a second. Thanks to all the residents and everybody up in St Alphonsus Road yesterday. Hope you're keeping well and mind yourselves. Sinn Féin councillor John Hearn. Sinn Féin refused to take the pay increase and Mary Lou will get a peace prize after forcing Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael to end civil war. Bitter politics after 100 years. Regarding COVID payments, says another texter, everyone got 2 payments last weekend. So that's regarding that. You got a double payment last weekend. There's your answer to that, says that person. And Liam rang to say he was watching the news last night and the woman in Offaly who returned home from hospital recovering from COVID, he says all the family in the community were standing outside, were on top of each other, no social distancing. Will people ever learn? Kieran, good morning.
Good morning, Damien.
Thanks for joining us. Kieran Kennedy, driving instructor. A simple initiative to encourage pedestrians to walk on the side of the road in the direction of traffic to avoid people jumping out onto the road. Tell us.
Yeah, well, Damien, it's not possible everywhere because at some roads there are only footpaths on one side. But where there are footpaths on both sides, if pedestrians walk with the flow of traffic, they're not coming into oncoming buggies and prams and people walking their dogs and people aren't jumping out on the road and it's much easier keep your distance. You know, and like this could happen not just on footpaths, but it's an etiquette that I've seen in Germany years ago. You know, people are much more civilised in corridors and on footpaths and in everywhere. And that you walk on the left, like in Ireland, we drive on the left, so it's fairly easy for us to, you know, to walk on the left. If there's just a footpath, you know, on one side of the road, well, the person walking in the road goes goes on the left, and it makes it a lot easier, not to be walking in on top of each other and everything. Now, rural roads, Damien, this can't change because you have to walk facing the traffic, and it's easier on rural roads because you're on the opposite side of the roads anyway. At least you should be if you're paying proper attention, Damien.
There is less traffic on the roads, that's important, but for motorists that are out there, they know there's less traffic, so they might be inclined to speed up, and particularly on rural roads, that can be very, very dangerous. Like, I know road deaths is down dramatically at present, but there's still a lot of dangers out there because there are a lot of people out walking, isn't there?
Definitely, Damien, and unfortunately the one road death I heard last weekend was the usual single car. I'm saying for years on your programme and previous programmes, the one car, that speed, do you know what I mean, losing control in the bend, hitting a pole of water or whatever, and unfortunately we had one of them the weekend. But yeah, Damien, you can get way too relaxed.
How would you propose,
never land.
Kieran, how would you propose that this be enforced? Like, would you be talking about Gardaí standing at footpaths basically saying you have to walk in a different direction? It could be like the Ministry for Walks, the John Cleese one on Monty Python, no?
No. Look, it's like everything. You get the Irish people, as I said, we took on the plastic bag, we took on the non-smoking ban. It would be very easy when they make their mind up to do something. You know what I mean? They're well able to do it, and we're leading in Europe anyway with our behaviour during this crisis. And it's just another little addition that might make it easier for people to avoid each other, which unfortunately we all have to do at the moment. If I don't get a hug off one of my grandchildren soon, I'm going to post. But there's no bullying. It's just a simple suggestion I put up on Facebook, and I'd have to say I'm extremely disappointed with the Road Safety Authority. They're not putting any initiatives forward. Like, even at the start of this thing, driving instructors didn't know what to do. We got no advice, no help. You're on your own, lads. You're self-employed. They're self-employed. They're looking for the fee at the end of the year. They're €200. Them are Road Safety Authority instructors again. You know what I mean? So I am very disappointed with them. But look, it's a voluntary initiative. It's just a suggestion. People might add to it or take away from it or whatever, but it's just to try help the flow of pedestrians on the path a little more civilised. That's all.
It might be something, Kieran, on a serious note, that if, for example, a council said it, let's say within Waterford City or Dungarvan or wherever the case may be, and say, let's try this for a week and let's put up signs and encourage people to do it voluntarily, because it's going to be impossible, I think, to impose a law on this in the short term. So if they did it voluntarily and just see how people react to it, the only problem you might have again is you don't want people shouting at other people on the road, get over to the other side, and all this sort of stuff that could happen. Hopefully it wouldn't.
Yeah, but if you look at the long stretch of the dual carriageway, there's one big wide footpath on one side. You'll see cyclists coming on that on the right and the left, and people dodging it. It's a simple thing. You're allowed to cycle on that footpath. Cycle calmly on the left. You know what I mean? Stay on your left side. If you're going the other way, you're still on the left. You're not bumping into each other. The Germans do it very well. The Germans, if you're on the footpath in Germany, Damien, and you hear a little ching, 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 and you actually step in further to let the cyclist pass you. Do you know what I mean? You have to have a bell on the bike in Germany. So cyclists and pedestrians cohabit very, very well on footpaths over there, and it's something that would take time. And as I said, if you get the kids in the corridor in schools when they get back doing it, you won't have people having head-on collisions even in corridors. Do you know what I mean? So it's just a simple little thing that might help.
No, it's worth suggesting, and that's why we wanted to have you on and let people react and see what they think about it. Kieran, to you and your family, stay safe. It's doing your head in, is it?
It is. I'm missing my clients, actually, and not hungry for money. I'm missing my clients, and I'm missing all the kids in boxing and everything. But I mean, it's so frustrating for those kids. They get to Munster finals. They're a week away from boxing and Munster championships. They've trained hard all year. You know, just if your own boy for more, they've all itching, ready to go, and then it's gone. So, but what I would say is that all those people who participate in sport, it's a time to reflect and appreciate on the time that all your coaches put into you, and just think how bored you are now, and then when you go back, maybe you might appreciate your coaches a little more, because it's not politicians are the backbone of Ireland. It's the voluntary contributions,
Yes.
whether it's soccer, hurling or whatever, boxing. It's those people keep Ireland afloat.
Kieran, thanks very much. Mind yourself and take care, okay?
Bye-bye.
God bless. Take it easy. Kieran Kennedy there, driving instructor. A simple initiative. A text in. Damien, if I'm walking facing traffic, I walk on the outside of the footpath. If I'm facing away from traffic, I walk on the inside. What do you think? Let us know. 083 333 975.